My punches always felt heavy and everything always felt heavy because the fear that I carried in my heart was literally and physically weighing me down. Hello and welcome. Welcome to my second podcast. First, I would like to thank all of you for the overwhelming love and support I got on the very first podcast that I did. That really surprised me. Thank you so much. And wow, stock market going crazy. Would love to talk about that, and I will talk about that in the future, but a quick little announcement. If you didn't know, I launched my very first UX portfolio website. So if you want to check it out, go to kendraux.com and go ahead and up my SEO score for Google. Today, I'm going to be talking about and telling the story of my experience living and fighting in Thailand. In the beginning of 2019, the end of January, I left for Bangkok, Thailand. And I left after graduating winter of 2018 from UC Berkeley. While I was at UC Berkeley, I was unable to compete at a high level and pass my classes at the same time. So I had to stop fighting. How was the test, Dahlia? Terrible. It was a fucking disaster, dude. It was a disaster. Needless to say, I got around 15 pounds heavier and I was just all around out of shape. To go to Thailand for a mix of reasons. One, I thought it would be a great way to re-immerse myself into fighting. I really felt like God was leading me to Thailand, and I really wanted to get away. I wanted an escape. I was so burnt out. I was so tired, and I just wanted to get away. And I thought this was the most productive getaway I could possibly think of. So the day before, or I should say the night before I'm supposed to leave, I booked my ticket. Yep, I booked my ticket the night before I'm supposed to leave, and I go and I show up to Bangkok, and I'm by myself in a foreign country, somehow make it to Sitsan Penang after a lot of being lost and confusion. And yeah, upon arrival, like the day I arrived, like I wake up in the morning, I'm told I have a fight in 2 weeks. I just showed up and I have a fight in 2 weeks. And I'm just like, oh. So I'm overweight, I'm out of shape. And so you could imagine the adjustment was hard. It was really hard. It felt like I was doing Muay Thai all over again. I had to really go back to the basic 1-2 fundamentals, y'all. It was painful. So the weekend before my fight, me and some other people at the gym decide to go to Channel 7, which is a Muay Thai fight show. And so we go, and it was an overwhelming experience because basically I was watching these young boys just like savagely like beat each other up with elbows and knees. Like I haven't seen so many elbows thrown to somebody's head at that speed and that velocity in my freaking life. I was watching this terrified. I thought this was the most barbaric thing I've ever seen. To be honest with you guys, I actually started crying watching this. I was looking at them and I was like, this is so fucking crazy. Like, I'm gonna have to do this next weekend. I'm gonna have to do that next weekend. Some chick is gonna bust my face open with her elbow. I'm not ready. So training was just super painful. I was crying every day and I was like, I should just quit. Like, God, let me quit. Maybe I'll just use the rest of my time here as a vacation and just forget about fighting and I'm just going to hang up the gloves. You know what I'm saying? And I just felt like, should I continue? Because I just felt so terrible and I just felt like I wasn't getting any better. I showed up every single day and naturally you would expect to get better and better and better, but I wasn't getting better. Or so I thought. Fight day rolls around. I'm terrified, as you probably already can tell. And we take a bus and we arrive to the location. Now the location was so surreal. Basically, the courtyard of a Buddhist temple was converted into a carnival. And in that carnival was a stadium, a boxing stadium, where we would be fighting. And it was just so gorgeous to look at like Buddhist temples, they're made out of gold. And the gold like glistens at night and it looks like so beautiful. And I was just like, I felt like I was in a video game. Anyways, so I go out there and I get matched with this tough chick, you know? And we're out there and mind you, this is Thailand. So this wasn't no 3-round fight. I think this was a 5-3s. It was 5 rounds for sure. It might just have been 5-2s, but 5 rounds nonetheless. And I did the best that I can. I said, F it. I'm gonna throw down. We were bashing shins. In America, you never bash shins like that so much, so often. It was just like a kicking war. And by the end of it, my shins were freaking bleeding. Yep, my shins were freaking bleeding. I lost the fight. I did lose the fight. But I walked away from that fight feeling happy. I felt like, oh, that was so much fun. Like, I really enjoyed that. And when I saw when I felt how much joy fighting brought me, like, if that brings you joy, I was like, damn, you're made for this. If you can come out of that with bleeding shins and feel in your heart happy, obviously made to be a fighter. But I realized, okay, this is what I want to do. I decided that I needed to make the necessary adjustments to be successful. So for me, one of those things was no more eating rice. Rice is like, for me, food kryptonite. I can't eat rice. Rice is the difference between being obese and being a fitness model. I can't eat it. It is what it is. I love it. Can't eat it. Is what it is. 2, I hired a personal trainer at a local fitness gym down the street. Now, in Thailand, sometimes the strength and conditioning aspect is a little bit rudimentary, if you know what I mean. So I wanted to really supplement my strength and conditioning training because I know for me and my game, that's really important. So I made the investment in that. And then number 3, no more waking up at 5 a.m. to run. Okay, that just doesn't work for me. I can't do that. 0 out of 10 experience, wouldn't recommend. What I did instead was started running at night. That's when my runs are most productive. After I made those changes, I literally went from maybe 24% body fat all the way down to 16% body fat. I'll insert a picture over here. But even though I lost a lot of fat and I was in shape and I had my breakthrough and I was fit and I was doing well, I was still too fearful to compete. Womp, womp, womp. One day, we take a little field trip to Lumpini Stadium. And if you don't know what that is, that's like the epicenter of Muay Thai combat. And basically, I was watching a bunch of fights, and one of the people at the gym was fighting there. And he did really well. Like, he actually was so powerful that he ended up TKOing his opponent. And as I was watching him fight, I was like, that should be me. That should be me. I should be TKOing people. That's who I am. And then as soon as I thought that, my coach turned and was like, hey, Kendra, do you want to fight? And I was like, oh my God. And in that moment, I got scared all over again. And I was like, yes, I want to fight. He's like, okay, I'll get you a fight. I was like, thank you. Let me take a quick second to talk about my fear problem. Now, as competitors, it's normal to have pre-fight jitters. That's totally normal. But for me, I went beyond pre-fight jitters. I had like downright crippling anxiety. Like, the fear I had was crippling. I felt like every time I walked out to fight, I was wrapped with heavy chains wrapped around me. And anytime I would fight, I felt like there was heavy chains wrapped around me, and my punches always felt heavy, and everything always felt heavy, because the fear that I carried in my heart was literally and physically weighing me down. I'm running on the treadmill. I'm like really meditating on this fear problem that I have and this problem that I have. And really, I have an epiphany. In short, I have an epiphany. And I realize that my fear stems from fear of the opinions of others. That what cripples me is that I'm afraid of what people will think. I was saying, what really was crippling me was the fear of failure. And I was afraid of being judged. I was afraid that people would see me as less of a fighter if I lost. And that really was what was wrong. And it's so funny because I was reading a proverb, and it literally says something like, the fear of man is a snare. Now, when I was young, I thought a snare meant a snake. It turns out, do you know what a snare is? I bet you don't. If you're really smart, you do. But a snare actually is a rope that is used to tie up birds to prevent them from flying. I was so afraid of what people thought about me, it literally felt like chains on my body. It was literally the rope that was preventing me from flying. And on top of that, I realized that whether I win or lose, that does not define me. And that doesn't define my skill level. Because this sounds so obvious, but it's like not. Whether I win or lose, I'm literally at the same skill level. Like, if I won the fight, that doesn't mean I'm more skilled than I already am. And if I lose the fight, I'm not less skilled than I already am. I'm still at the same skill level, no matter what title they assign to me. 2 days later, I'm fighting. And you know what? I was scared, but I was less scared than usual. Still scared. But I went out there, and I TKO'd her with elbows. Then I went and fought again. And you know what? I was still scared, but I was less scared than before. And I went out there, and I won unanimous decision. So then I go to Singapore. And from Singapore, I was supposed to go to Vietnam, but somehow that didn't end up happening, and I unexpectedly found myself back in Bangkok because I couldn't get into Vietnam. So while I'm in Bangkok, I'm only there for a week, but I thought, hey, you know what? I feel like I could fight. I don't know, I just feel like I can fight. Doesn't make any sense, but I just feel like I can fight. So I go to my coach and I'm like, hey, you think I could get a fight? And he was like, absolutely not. And I was like, fair enough. Hey, fair enough. But somehow, the last night that I'm in Bangkok, I get a fight. Okay? And I'm excited and I'm happy. I'm like, wow, this is fate. I felt it and it's happening. The girl comes out. She is 5'9". Let me tell you, this is the first fight that Sits on Penong gave me their last name, or gave me their gym name as my name. And if you know, you know. I don't have time to explain it, but if you know, you know, and that's a big deal. So it was like, damn, I'm representing this gym for the first time, and I'm about to get So this is how it's gonna end. So this is how it's gonna end. But anyways, I give myself a pep talk. Like, I'm out in the back, and I'm like, Kendra, you are strong. Kendra, you are strong. And I was like, I'm gonna go out there, and I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna stay calm, and I'm not gonna jump in. I'm not gonna jump into nothing. This girl's 5'9". I'm gonna feel her out. I'm gonna stay on the outside, you know, play it safe or whatever. Whatever, like, a minute and 30 seconds in, KO, done. TKO, donezo. It was a really special moment, and let me tell you why. For the longest time, I was told that I was too short, that I should avoid fighting tall people, and I should fight in small weight classes so I don't have to fight super tall people. And you know what? For me to go out there and finish someone who was 5'9", do you know how that made me feel? As a 5'3" girl, I felt like I am enough. 5'3", I am enough. God made me the way I am, and he made me enough. This morning, I left to Osaka, Japan. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed my video and me sharing my experience. If you have any questions, let me know, and I can't wait to see and talk to you guys again. So I love you so much, and have a nice night. Mwah.